In a saga reminiscent of Keystone Cops, a 2-year pursuit of felony charges against school librarians in Granbury, Texas, unfolded like a farcical mission gone awry. Right-wing extremist Scott London embarked on his vendetta and poured over stacks of literature while sporting a body cam to capture his quest to prosecute. His target? 3 school librarians allowing minors to check out books at the library some deemed obscene. Despite subpoenas and dramatic investigative theatrics, ultimately the case did fizzle when the district attorney did decline to indict, citing insufficient evidence. So stick around for the sordid details of Scott London's attempt to stop kids from reading. There's a lot more idiocy to cover. This story is from NBC News by Mike Hixenbaugh. It's by Tyler Kingkade, Scott Freeman, and Nia Parks on July 23rd, 2024. Now, Cindy, there's a lot of talk about deciding what books should and should not be in schools or libraries. What do you think who should be making those type of decisions? Is it somebody who ultimately runs around with the camera trying to invade privacy, or do you think there might be a more mature way to do it?
No, I definitely don't think that self-righteous asshole who has nothing to do with his days, apparently, that's not the person who should make those decisions. And he won't, because basically he worked for 2 years for nothing, because he proposed some charges to be filed and they weren't. Unfortunately, I don't think it will have the effect I wish it had, because I'm pretty sure someone else will try another time. But I think it should be done at the federal level. I don't see why a child in Texas should have access to different books than a child in California. There's no reason for that. I don't think school boards should exist. I think it should be done by the Ministry of Education, which should be funded accordingly and not led by people who want to destroy the public system, like it was for quite a bit. But I think it's symptomatic of a portion of the population who sees education as a bad thing. There are many reasons why, and we can jump into it, but basically that's it. It's just a miserable cop who thinks too much of his beliefs and wants to impose them onto everyone else. That's just what it is.
I can't disagree with you there. It's really a case that would kind of mind-boggle me, though, that the police were getting involved in books. And Eli, talking about children and books and all of that, the privacy of the children, was that something that he took into consideration? Nope. How exactly far did he go with that?
He sure didn't consider that. He even went so far as to gather a list over the past 2 years of the names of children in these schools that had checked out these books. And it's ironic that he thinks this is creating a safe environment for children. Like, this is the protection that children need. And you hit a lot of points that I really agree with Cindy. He is just pushing his personal beliefs. He said in an interview with the same source back in 2023, this has nothing to do with the Constitution. I don't know what a constitutional constable is, but he said in the interview, this has nothing to do with his job. He's just like being paid taxpayer money to just do this thing and persecute librarians under felonies for letting kids read books. I'm starting to not believe. I saw somebody say that everybody watches America the same way America watched Tiger King, and I really see that. Like that makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm starting to no longer believe that the things that happen here are reality.
I have to say that it really is amazing to think that we're going to punish librarians for this, when really, where do you draw the line? If you ultimately decided this is a book that's bad, who would you decide? Is it the person who bought the book? Is it the person that put it on a wagon and wheeled it into the front door? Is it physical possession? Is it writing on a piece of paper? What ultimately decides whose responsibility it is? Is books in your library, we're going to give you a felony. That's absurd all around. What are you going to do? That's just absolutely absurd. Let me ask you this, Cindy. Do you think this is a deliberate chilling effect to try to, as you mentioned, this people who want to not have education? Is this more along the lines of what we're looking at there, just really not wanting it to happen?
I think it is, when you look at all the cases where legislators, local legislators are trying to impose this kind of laws banning books. But in this specific case, I don't think guy is smart enough to go this far. I just think he thinks he's just right in his mind. He's just self-righteous, and he just wants to impose his views on anyone. And we are talking about the idea of banning books, but we're not talking about the reasons why he says he does it, because the content he doesn't like, it's not like there's a quote at some point where she says something like, imagine if we got to give maxims on pornographic material in the hands of kids. And that's not what's happening. It's not like those books, first of all, contain images of actual sexual depiction or anything like that. It's just books of things that make him uncomfortable. And that's just what it is. It's just talking about gender. It's talking about homosexuality. It's talking about all of this. And that's just make him icky. And so he just wants to prevent everyone to read those books. And I can't see it in any other way than just, I don't like it, so others can have it.
It's not a matter of right. It's a matter of a feeling of discomfort, loss of entitlement.
Yeah.
And maybe you're right. Maybe it's not his deliberate attempt to bring in the idea of a chilling effect. It could just be that it's a feature he didn't even know about in it. This is an added bonus. Because I think at the end of the day, I think you probably hit the nail on the head. Elijah, what did you get from this story?
I've said a lot of times that I don't think censoring information is the way to teach kids the right information. I think if you teach them how to think, not what to think, teach them how to discern correct from incorrect, true from not true, good source from bad source, then it doesn't matter. They can see and read and take in whatever they want. And now they have the tools to discern, like, this is something that's helpful to me and I should hold on to this. And this is something that's not quite so helpful and I should get rid of this. What makes a kid want to go and seek something out more than anything else? Tell them that they can't have it. And then they're going to want to go find it. We talked about this on an episode recently, and somebody on the episode said the same thing. They're going to go get the book on Amazon for $7 anyway, as soon as they realize that you took it out of the library specifically so they wouldn't be able to read it. It's not doing anything to stop them from accessing this material, and it's just punishing people that are just trying to educate kids. There was a person in the video, in the article, that said the same thing. Nobody should be facing threats of felony charges just for trying to educate people and provide information to the world. That would be like the three of us. If somebody came to the three of us to say that, we were committing a felony because of the things we talked about on one of these shows, I think it's akin to that, and it blows my mind.
I'd like to come. Sorry, just one point. I'd like to come back to what you just said when you talked about. Sorry, I lost it. No, go ahead, Infidel. I'm sorry, I forgot my train of thought.
No, it's fine. I guess that happens to us sometimes. I know I've already forgot. Who are the two of you again?
Kelly.
Oh, that's right, Kelly. Thanks for filling in for Eli. Now, having said that, you mentioned LGBTQ books, Eli. What about Cindy? People of color, that also seemed to draw a share of attention. I wanted both of you to kind of comment on what did you think that was about? It can't be an icky thing. Surely this far in history, we're past ickiness when it comes to race like that, aren't we? I was just trying to figure out why do we want to pretend that people of color don't exist when they exist around us? I don't understand that motivation.
I can answer to that, and I can come back to the point I forgot. You said that children, they're just going to buy the book on Amazon. The problem is it increases the divide between the education of poor people and people who have the means to go to buy those books. And we know that in the US, it's one of the major problems that education is extremely related to your revenues. So poor people have much worse education than rich people and even the middle class. But there's this idea that not wanting to acknowledge your past. Because if you look at Rosa Parks and all those pictures you see about Black people trying to eat in a restaurant and being attacked by people, I think it's still fresh in the memory, and people are so ashamed of it that they just pushing it away and try to make it like it didn't happen. I think that's one of the reasons why so many books talking about race issues in the US are on the list of banned books.
So it's a more of a discomfort level than anything else. And really, I think I understand a little better that at the end of the day, it is a very difference of wanting to stigmatize versus wanting to naturalize. And I think that is fundamentally one of the differences, because so many of the things that he talked about are things that at the end of the day is a what? Who cares? Move on. But then unfortunately, people like this keep popping up, and we keep having to play whack-a-mole. But do you think that this is a winning argument, or is this a losing argument? Is this something that people are receptive to, or is this losing something? What do you think, Eli?
I think that hopefully fewer than I think, but probably more than I think people are receptive to book banning. I think that most people probably think that restricting information is the right way. And to your point, Cindy, which is a very good point, for those people who don't have the income resources to get that education outside of the school, if the school is now banned from providing it, they're just out of luck. And that's just another hurdle they have to overcome in order to have the same opportunity or even a similar equitable opportunity as anyone else. And I think what happens is that when you look at historically the people that are likely to ban books, they're historically Christian or religious, at least. I think in most cases Christian, at least the ones that we've talked about. I think they're more likely to be white. I think they're more likely to be heterosexual or heteronormative. And I think it's also really common for everybody, regardless of any type of background, for somebody in power to feel defensive when things that they have done that are not that great are brought to light. And that happens a lot to white people and to straight people and to cis people, because there's a lot of examples of white and cis and straight people causing harm. When books like The Bluest Eye, which was one of the ones specifically mentioned in the article and was on the top 10 most challenged books in the United States in 2023, and was only a few books on that list that was not about LGBTQIA plus issues, but also one of only a few that was written by a person of color. And it's because these books are challenging the white normativity and the heteronormativity, and that's what they don't like. And I think until it becomes clear that the perceived majority in society and in culture that white, cis hetero people perceive, until it is understood that the perceived majority isn't as strong as it is perceived to be, that's going to continue to be the case. The majority of people feel like this is the right thing to do.
And Cindy, any thoughts or any comments?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest fuels of the conservative movement in the US is the amount of shame they have to overcome to be part of the current society. Because the conservatives, they are against, they still have some racist ideas, they still have homophobic ideas, they still have all those wrong ideas that have been proven false like 50 years ago, but they still have it because they grew up with those ideas. And since they are no longer accepted in this society, and we are tribal creatures, we want to belong to our society. And the response to this backsliding, I would say, they're pushed on the side is trying to either prevent this information that they're different from reaching the kids, or trying to impose their views on everyone. And you have those two movements in the conservative movement. You have one where they're trying to impose their views on everyone, like preventing abortion, like preventing gay marriage, like all this. And at the same time, you have have this, let's make sure that our kids are not educated as they need to be in order to understand the society and stay with our ideas.
So I would also have to say that in many ways, the books are symbolic because it's a notation of a lack of acceptance that obviously goes so much further than books. This is, as we mentioned earlier, stigmatized. This is to exclude. This feels beyond just icky. This feels like, the censorship that goes far beyond. But it's what's happening now. Eli, did you have any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, it does go beyond the icky. It's not just I don't like this, and I don't want, like I was saying a minute ago, I don't want my children to feel responsible, to feel guilt, to feel shame for the actions of of people in the past, which I can't say is unreasonable, but I don't think anybody wants your children to feel ashamed for the actions of people in the past.
It doesn't serve a purpose.
Right, exactly. And I don't think anybody wants that. I think it's just that these things need to be acknowledged so that we understand what did happen and why it is important to make sure that everybody has equality and everybody is treated the same regardless of their background. And when you continue to remove the examples of that not happening and the results of that not happening, then you remove the motives or the incentives to make sure it doesn't happen anymore.
Cindy, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to point out that in order to be educated on what your previous generations did and not feel guilty, that's possible. That everyone else does it. But you need education for that. You need properly trained educators. And if you defend the education system, then it doesn't happen. And it's a catch-22. You cannot solve this problem if you don't manage to find a way to teach that, yes, your grandparents did some horrific things, but it was a different time. They grew up in a different way. And although we do understand now that it's not acceptable and we're trying to change it, we don't feel guilty because we didn't do anything wrong. We are not our grandparents.
As a parent, my youngest being 14, we had talked earlier about Amazon and what you could find on Amazon. Yeah, I just accept a certain reality, but it doesn't change the reality. Also, as you mentioned, the income disparity and the exclusion that comes along with all of this. So all these things being very important, I'm glad that both of you brought these up. And I just wanted to say that if you want to see more nonprofits, click here.